Hi, welcome to Sunset Birth. Today I'm going to be sharing my story of how I became a doula. So it's going to be a little bit of a different video, but I'm really excited. I love hearing other people's stories about how they got into birth work. I feel like many women become doulas or become midwives because of their own birth experience, but for me, I haven't had my own kids yet, so I have just a very crazy story of how just I really didn't find this profession, but it really found me, and I am just going to share my story, and I'm really excited. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment down below if you're a doula, what your story is, how you got into this work, or any questions that you have, and I'm excited. So let's get into it. I started college like a lot of people, being pre-med, being a biochem major. I was wanting to go to medical school and be a doctor, but I didn't really know why I wanted to be a doctor. I just thought that was what you were supposed to do if you liked science, and I loved anatomy and biology and just how the body worked and all of that. So I started taking all the bio classes, and I was like, okay, I don't really feel excited about this, but I'm just going to keep doing it. I had already started to feel led in the direction of like women's health or being a pediatrician or an OB, and I decided to start volunteering. So I decided to volunteer at a pregnancy care center, helping women and families through unplanned pregnancies who need extra support. So while I was there, I came across a business card for a midwife, and I remember looking at it being like, I didn't even know that midwives existed anymore. Like, I thought that they were just that they just weren't around. Like, I had heard of them kind of, but just didn't know what they did, and something told me you should meet with her. So I arranged to get coffee and just sat down with her and just asked, like, what does your job look like? Like, what do you do exactly? And she just walked me through how she got into midwifery, just what attending births looks like for her, meeting with families, getting to know them, having a continued relationship beyond just their birth. It's like you get to be part of this intimate experience in their life, and then you get to follow them after. And she was saying how she got to celebrate the birthdays of all the babies that she helped bring into the world, and all the births that she attended, and attend the births of families for multiple pregnancies and multiple births. And just after hearing that, I was like, yeah, I can never be a doctor and have that same level of relationship as this midwife did with the families that she got to serve. So after meeting her, I still didn't really know what I should major in. And in the spring of my freshman year, I was still loving my history classes the most out of all the classes I was taking throughout the whole year. And I think the reason why I loved it so much, I went to a small liberal arts school, was because it was telling the stories of people and families, and just for me, it sounds so corny, but the study of what makes us human, and the things that are really important. And so I went out on a limb and I declared a history major. So I went from pre-med to history, and I was like, okay, I think I want to be a midwife. But I still didn't know which type of midwife. If you don't know, there are multiple kinds of midwives. There are nurse midwives who become a nurse first and then go to more school to become a midwife. They can work in hospitals. There are midwives who only can do home birth or birth center births, who don't have to become nurses beforehand. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I was being led to be a midwife. I ended up meeting a few other girls at my school who similarly wanted to become midwives. One of them had actually been a doula in high school and just told me all the stories of the births she got to attend as a doula. And we together said, you know what, how about we start a club to just bring more awareness to what midwifery is, talk about birth, bring other women from the community in. And that's what we did. We started the Midwifery Education Club club. I was the president of the club, and that was a super cool experience, even though I definitely got coined on campus as like the midwife girl or the birth girl. But I guess there are worse reputations to have. But we got the chance to have multiple events, like women coming to share their birth stories. We got to partner with like a miscarriage support nonprofit and just do some really cool things with that club that made me realize just it's not just midwifery, but taking care of women, you know, as a whole, and even in loss and postpartum and just women's health in general and fertility awareness and all these different things I was just learning so much about, and just had the opportunity to really engage with the community in that. And while that experience was so cool, I still, at the end of my sophomore year of college, had never seen a birth in person, you know. But at the end of my sophomore year, COVID happened, and that was really confusing because I wanted to attend a birth but couldn't because, you know, doulas weren't allowed in the hospital then. So I decided to take a doula training program in the summer of 2020. That was a virtual training. Some part of me regrets maybe not doing an in-person training, but I was just so excited and just wanting to learn and wanting to become a doula. And now in hindsight, I know that you don't need a certification or a certain training to be a doula at all, but also to be a really great doula, you don't need those things. But I am glad that I did it and got the training. So I did that in the fall of 2020. And I finished that and I was like, okay, I'm ready, you know. But then I started school again and waited until the summer of 2021, and I just cold called all these birth centers and all these midwives being like, could you take me on as an intern, or just can I shadow you? Can I be your on-call doula? Like, how can I see births to really confirm if this is what I want to do? And finally, after so much searching, I had a midwife say yes. So this midwife said yes to me coming on as her student and her on-call doula. She had opened her own birth center in Texas, so I drove to Texas and spent the summer with her. She let me be in clinic with her, seeing prenatals and postpartums and well woman visits, and I got to build relationships with the families, so I knew pretty much all of them before attending their birth. And I remember the very first birth I attended was so humbling because I was just like, I've forgotten everything that I'm supposed to do. But I feel like that was a really good lesson for me, that also sometimes it's not about knowing all the fancy tricks or all the things to do at all times, but just being there as a calm presence and a peaceful presence can be so impactful. But throughout that summer, I really developed confidence to know what my role was at the births and really attend to the unique needs of every mom. And I'm still learning and growing in that. Every single birth I attend, I learn something new, and feel like every birth is so individualized as well, based on the needs and desires of the family, the unique circumstances, if it's, you know, at a birth center or in the hospital. So I attended 11 births that summer, and it was just a really great opportunity. But I did live that on-call lifestyle. You know, I had to drive 45 minutes to the birth center, getting called in at, 2 in the morning that someone's come in labor. But it was such an amazing experience, and just the birth high after seeing a birth, and even though I was running on very little sleep, it was just like the best experience ever. And I am so grateful to that midwife for inviting me into her practice and getting to have that experience. And I think through that experience, and also with the births I've attended since, I'm just reminded of the 3 pillars of Sunset Birth: peaceful, prepared, and confident. That's how I want all women and families to feel going into birth, no matter what it looks like, if it's at home, in the hospital, unmedicated, with an epidural, whatever it is, even if it's a C-section, if they, whatever decisions they want to make for their labor, birth, and even postpartum into motherhood, that they would just feel those things, peaceful, prepared, and confident, because as a doula, I was there to support whatever decision they wanted to make and just encourage them and make sure that they felt heard, respected, that their decisions were being honored, and that was such a special role to play. I even think that eventually one day when I hopefully become a midwife, if that's something that God has for my future, that I will always be a doula at heart, because I just think the role is so special, just advocating for families to be heard and respected, and for them to really do soul searching themselves to know what they want, not comparing themselves to, their neighbor next door who's pregnant, or these other birth stories or other opinions, but just knowing what they want and feeling confident in whatever decision that is. So after that summer at the birth center, I decided that I was going to just apply for nursing school. Specifically, I applied for a program that would shoot me right from the RN portion to the nurse midwifery portion, and I actually ended up getting waitlisted from that program. And I remember being so crushed and so confused. I thought this was gonna work. I thought I was supposed to become a midwife, this is what I was supposed to do, and I got waitlisted, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm not gonna do that. So I was like, you know what, maybe I can just, be a doula, maybe teach childbirth education. And I feel like that has always been something I've really wanted to do. I ended up getting into a program that was 4 semesters to become a registered nurse. Thought about it for a while, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, because, in order to be a nurse midwife, I have to become a registered nurse first. Even if I wanted to become a home birth midwife, being an RN, my time wasn't going to be wasted. I started nursing school in January of 2023, and I'm actually just about to graduate, which is so exciting. This video will actually go out on my graduation day, which is why I kind of wanted to make it as a commemorable video, just to tell my story. I think since starting nursing school, I got to be a doula, a volunteer doula at the hospital, and see hospital birth. And I think that experience, as well as nursing school, gave me the nuance to see kind of behind the scenes of what hospital birth is like, and how to support hospital birth and advocate for women there, because before that I had only experienced a birth center, which was, midwifery model of care, just a whole different ball game than what it's like in the hospital. So I feel like because I have seen both and supported both, I'm such a more well-rounded doula because of that. And I'm also so grateful for what I've learned in nursing school, and I also think that I knew how to kind of filter out some of the things I was learning in nursing school because of what I know about physiological birth, the experiences I've gotten to witness. That was really important to have the nursing experience, but also filter that through the doula lens. I should also note that I finished my undergrad college experience still graduating as a history major, and I wrote my graduating senior thesis on the history of nurse midwifery. So I got to kind of combine my loves of midwifery and history, and talk about how nurses came onto the scene to have this new profession of nurse midwifery, and that just the history of midwifery in general, how, doctors and these male midwives, they call themselves, start to take over birth in the US. And it was just a really cool thing to learn about, because it contextualized my whole view of childbirth in the US today. Because if you don't know, our system is very interesting and very different from other countries, because in most European countries, midwives attend most of the births, and it's just a very different setup than we have in the United States, where 99% of births happen in the hospital with doctors. I think knowing how we got to the place that we are now is really helpful when you're trying to make sense of the over-medicalization of birth that we're seeing and how it got to that point. Not saying that other countries aren't struggling with similar things, but the United States is especially struggling with that. I actually just did a review of the documentary Business of Being Born. You can go watch that here. and they do a really good job at summarizing the history of birth in the US and how we got here and how it's kind of messed up and how we can, what are ways to mitigate those things. So right now I am teaching Lamaze childbirth education classes in person in the Spokane, Washington area, as well as offering virtual doula support, which includes, offering one-on-one support, individualized support for birth preparation. I can share all my knowledge and expertise from supporting just a wide range of different kinds of births, and you also get on-demand texting and virtual calls, and the links to both of those things will be in the description, so in person or virtual wherever you are in the world. And I'm really excited to be teaching, getting to help women feel peaceful, prepared, and confident for birth. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit of my story, and I would love to hear your stories down below. And even though I haven't had a birth experience of my own yet, I have loved the opportunity and the privilege to support women in birth and everything that I've learned, and I just love learning. I feel like I learn every single day just something new about how best to support women, and I am just so thankful for this calling and am excited to be sharing more videos on this channel as well as more offerings. And you can follow me on my Instagram at sunsetbirth and subscribe to this channel, like and comment and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. I'll see you next time.